Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. We are very, very, very glad to be part of the Variety Sports Network. And, of course, the show originates from the Bradshaw Bourbon Studio. Holy shit. The Pittsburgh Steelers have lost 3 straight games, 2 of which were at home. The teams with 2 wins each. They went on the road last week. They lose the Indianapolis Colts, giving up 30 straight points after taking a 13-0 lead. This is normally our Festivus show, as I believe Festivus is coming up. Is it tomorrow or the day after? I can't remember. It's either the 22nd or 23rd. And anyway,
tomorrow, but like we need a reason to bitch.
That's where I'm going, Ben, is the fact that there's so much to complain about. The airing of the grievances this evening will be quite easy. And I mean, we will try to be as fair as possible, but I'm telling you right now, there is not a lot of positive to discuss here. But thanks for everybody that's already jumped into the chat. Thank you to everybody that listens and watches on your own time. We very, very much appreciate it. And we'll do our best to give you informed, educated opinions tonight on the Steelers, and try to look ahead to next week. It's hard to believe there's 3 games left still. It's just such a weird feeling. But Ben is here, Scarps is here. I anticipate Ian eventually. Not real sure. Did we get a message from Ian? If we have, I haven't seen it. In any case, gentlemen, hello, and I'm going to start right off. Scarps, I'm going to ask you this question. Is Mike Tomlin the right guy for this particular Pittsburgh Steelers football team, as young as it is?
No, I don't think he is. And I've been critical of Mike, but I've also defended him as much as I can. And this is just not a good fit for him. He was very fortunate to inherit a veteran-led team, a team that had been 8-8 the year prior, but a team that had winners. And I'm not saying that he won with Cowher's players, but I am saying that when you inherit a veteran franchise quarterback that had won a Super Bowl and a variety of other high-level performers and even backups that had won a Super Bowl, it makes your life a little bit easier. And there were growing pains early on. I remember he ran the wheels off of them in his first training camp, and they were all kind of like, what the hell is this, man?
Yep.
But that's what happens when you're a new coach, and I think Tomlin did a really good job early on of sort of, knowing his role, but also understanding that, you know what, I can't be too hard on these guys because these guys have won. Fast forward, 17 years later or whatever it is now, he's got, minimal veteran presence, including, most importantly, minimal veteran presence as Steelers. And that's sort of self-policing that he had throughout his career, where he didn't really have to intervene because he knew the dudes in the locker room were going to. That's gone. I hope we could talk about this a little bit later, but guys like Cam Hayward can't do it all. Minka called out guys, and I not that I didn't like Minka, but he absolutely went up in my book for that. Even a guy like TJ Watt not afraid to say that, hey, TJ said that these dudes aren't practicing or don't know how to practice or don't want to practice. And today he backtracked that and was like, well, I was talking about myself as a young player, which obviously he listened to the PR staff, so good for him.
I'm glad the PR staff said something to someone.
Yeah. But, even Cam's comments today, about like, oh, well, this locker room isn't much different from 2011 as it is now. And the people that are saying that aren't in this locker room.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that. He didn't answer the question. He didn't
But
answer the question. He said,
okay.
I laugh because the people that opine about this aren't in this locker room. And then he changed the subject and talked about something else. But he never said yes or no. And it was a yes or no question. So I'm not I kind of am disagreeing with you. I'm not faulting your take on it, but he didn't answer the fucking question.
Okay, he didn't answer the question, but he also said that like people that aren't in this locker room don't know what they're talking about. And I'm like, dude, your fucking wide receiver this week basically said that he quits on everything or whatever. Anyway, so no, I don't think Mike Tomlin is the right person for this team. I'm not saying that he couldn't be next year if they got more veterans here. But I'm just at this point where I just think that it's time, it's run its course, and we'll see what happens in the off season. But no, this is not Tomlin's forte.
Ben, did he stick with, I know this is a rhetorical question, but I think it goes a little deeper than this because I think it goes to the player happiness, if you will. But did Tomlin make just an epic mistake, even bringing back Canada?
I would say yes, but I want to answer the question you gave, Scarbs. I think that Tomlin is the right guy, but he's doing it wrong. Does he know how to motivate these guys? Yeah, he does, clearly. But he can't be in every single position meeting. He can't be the position coach for the entire team. And yeah, he sets the tone and all that. And is he at fault? Abso-fucking-lutely. And I would go further and say, is he at fault for leaving for keeping Matt Canada? Yeah, he's at fault for keeping a number of the offensive coaches because I'll be frank, I'm not impressed with any of them.
No.
None.
No.
The tight ends can't fucking block. You got one guy who runs pretty good routes, but doesn't get much yak. I don't see Darnell Washington really developing as a player. When he came in, we were really excited about him. I don't really see him doing much. I don't see where Connor Hayward has made any headway as a receiver or as a blocker. Last year, he was a guy who, frankly, nobody really knew who he was. So they were kind of like, we're not going to cover this guy. And he made some plays as a result. And sometimes, he was being covered, made some plays anyway. And he had nice hands. That was nice. The kid can't block.
No.
He hasn't really developed. Pat Meyer, the one thing that stands out at me watching our offensive line play is their pass pro sets suck. And they set, and then they go after. They try and get aggressive and go after the pass rusher, which gives the pass rusher an advantage because the pass rusher can then use the inertia of the offensive lineman against them. Rather than reacting to what the pass rusher is doing, they're trying to attack the guy. And as they come forward, the pass rusher can do this.
Right.
Or this. But he knows which direction they're going because their head is going that way. And so he can predict it. Where if they're set and they got their hands out and maybe they punched and they'd come back. You know what I mean? They've got an advantage. They've got an advantage over the pass rusher. And that's why our pass pro fucking sucks. And this is something that Pat Meyer teaches is the go get on pass blocking, which I don't know why anyway. So it's frustrating to watch. Okay. Yes. And Najee not having a good year. I don't know what the fuck he's doing sometimes in the holes. You can't fault Jaylen Warren. He's playing great, but that's about it. On offense, the wide receiver room, my God, do they need leadership badly? Jesus.
I think Allen Robinson is trying. I don't think he can do it though. How do you guide that group of fucking misfits? You got to bring a guy in that they're actually going to listen to, and you need a wide receivers coach they're going to listen to. It appears to me that they're not listening to this guy. No,
I would clean house on the offensive side of the ball at the end of the season.
Well, Ian, welcome to the show, and go ahead.
The guy who went to the island of misfit toys and made something out of it was Rudolph. So there's something to that.
Jesus, is that a prediction I hear? Is that a prediction?
He wants
That's
a Charlie in the box.
That's yeah. Yeah. I had to come in strong since I was a little late. My apologies. I was doing some research for a question that Melvin asked me and got lost track of time, which not Melvin's fault, my fault for going down the wormhole. But yeah, so
which you are apt to do when it comes to research.
yeah, exactly. But yes, I'm here. So thanks everyone for joining us. Happy almost Eve of Festivus. So
That's right.
We've got some problems that we're going to talk about. And I'll just reiterate what I said last week on the show about Tomlin, that I think Tomlin is a really good coach for a veteran heavy team, that when he came in, he had a strong group of veteran leaders. Some of them were quote unquote cowards players, whatever you want to say, but also some of them were guys that Tomlin signed or, came into the league and adapted that, the Lawrence Timmonses, the Lamar Woodleys of the world. That was Tomlin's first draft class.
James Harrison.
Yeah, James Harrison was
James
not
Harrison
a starter.
was no, he was a player, but he was not a starter until Tomlin came to town.
Right. Yeah. So, but I think, as Tomlin was growing as a coach, and he even said, hey, I ran them too hard that first year. I tried to be too tough on them. I was a little more lax the second year, and we won a Super Bowl. And I think that he's kind of carried through that coaching philosophy of letting the veteran leaders kind of run the locker room. And he's not the Tom Coughlin-esque hard ass of, here's the time where everybody has to be somewhere and do the certain thing. It's like, you guys are professionals. You guys need to do film study, but I'm not going to dictate. It has to be between, 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. before practice. You can do it whenever you want. And that's just not his style of being in the minutia of it all. And now with a very young, we have the second youngest offense in the league. So with a very young team, that you're seeing these cracks start to develop because these guys kind of need that discipline to learn. And Tomlin's leaning on the coaches, the assistant coaches, which you guys all summarized very well. They're not very good. And the veteran leaders in the locker room, which they don't really have that many on offense. And the guys that are those leaders obviously aren't being listened to, or, you can talk to guys as much as you want, but the player has to listen too. Allen Robinson
can seriously.
Yeah, they got to
take
care.
it seriously.
Yeah,
exactly. You can talk to your blue in the face. This is a manager. If your people
and
don't
as a dad
actually,
of kids, there
you go. As a dad of kids, that's even more.
Yeah.
If they don't take what you're saying seriously,
you can't get through to them. It's just it's really hard to make people care. At some point, they have to care enough themselves to buy into, the message. And there's an obvious disconnect this season between the coaches and whatever their message is and what they're trying to do, and the players. And, fault probably lies on both sides, to be honest. But nevertheless, it's the players aren't bought into what the coaches are selling, and the coaches can talk till they're blue in the face, but they don't have buy-in from the players.
That is exactly where I was going with the Canada question, because I think these players entered the season already having some real doubt in their mind about Canada, and it got worse as the season went on, and Tomlin and company just waited way too long, and now it's come to this head with this ugliness and everything else. And Melvin's question right here just literally popped up here.
This was what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Exactly. They don't believe in the scheme they're being asked to run. So they're just like, yeah, you keep asking me to do the same fucking thing because it's too late to change it. This sucks. It won't work.
Yeah. And I, our former colleague here, Derek, who does a wonderful job. He points out a lot of the video and stuff, and just he's just bewildered because it's the same thing over and over and over, and which is just completely asinine at the NFL level to keep doing that. So Scarps, would you have benched George Pickens for this week? Would you have not given him a helmet? What would you have done based on?
Scarps would have bought him a Happy Meal and given him a pat on the ass.
He probably would have given him a Grimace toy.
Yeah, I would have. I would have made him inactive. And you know, I I get why they're not going to do that, but also this was an opportunity for Tomlin, and Casey's going to touch on this later, but so I won't talk about that thing. So just me, not even Tomlin. This dude has shitty body language, terrible effort. This is not the first time that he's shown this. He showed it last year, and people were like, "Oh no, he's just young. He's just this and that. He'll learn." And literally, it's the same thing this year, but it's so much worse this year.
I'll give rookies the benefit of the doubt, but a second-year guy, nah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, Benjamin, I agree. And Merry Christmas to you, my son. But no, he is just. It's not like his body language is like you see it occasionally. Like he is literally like, oh fuck, what the fuck? Like it is so bad. Like it's so bad. And like
I agree.
And then when he had no reason to say what he said to the media this week. Not only did he blame the media, but he's like basically like, I make business decisions on the field, and like, Jay, like
that is what he said.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but you're right.
No, like, and I'm gonna sit there and be like, okay, listen, man, like. If I was built like George Pickens, I probably wouldn't be afraid of anybody. But like, can you imagine like saying that shit when like T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward and Minka Fitzpatrick are like on your team? Because if I'm one of those dudes, I'm gonna beat your ass in front of everybody.
Broken hands, popped out fingers,
And you know what? And I've been critical of Kenny Pickett as much as anybody. I've never ever questioned Kenny Pickett.
I hadn't noticed that.
I've never ever questioned though his toughness or his will or any of those intangibles that we all know. And he's a good teammate. He always says the right things. But even this dude's like, even Kenny Pickett's trying to fucking play this week, and he shouldn't play, and he's not going to play. But like, you're literally spitting in the face of every one of your teammates and your head coach that literally went to bat for you and said, oh, he's a young man. He's going to learn. And you know what Tomlin did? Tomlin said, no, we're going to play him. That don't sit right with me. And it wouldn't sit right with me if I was one of his teammates.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to chime in on this real quickly. There's a lot of shit that George Pickens cannot control. Okay. He can't control what play is called. He can't control whether or not the ball is thrown to him. He can't control whether or not he runs a 3-yard route. He can't control any of those things. What he can control is his effort and his attitude. Okay. And his effort is inconsistent to the point that it sucks. And his attitude, based upon his body language, also sucks. So that's an issue. And I agree with Scarps. If it were me, I would sit him down for a week to think about it. And I'd be like, and you better show up. You better fucking be here on Saturday.
Yeah, don't pull a Mendenhall.
Don't do that. The guys that have done that before, there's been continuing discipline for that. So you better show up. You better be here.
Yeah.
You better be contrite. You better show up. But hang on, one more point. Here's the danger in not suspending him for a week or sitting him down. You don't necessarily have to suspend him. If you do that, then he has a reason to stay away and stay home and pout. So you sit him for a week, he's inactive, but he's got to stand on the sideline and watch everybody else play. The danger is this. If the standard is different based upon who you are, then the standard suddenly becomes subject to interpretation, your players, right?
Yep.
So it's hard to hold people accountable when you don't hold them accountable like he should be doing here. And that's why I disagree with it. I don't understand it. I know we need a win. Okay. Bottom line, they're trying to keep their playoff hopes alive and they need a win, but he should be sitting his ass down. He should be. That's my take.
What do you think?
I mean,
would you sit him?
Yeah. It seems completely inconsistent with how Tomlin has handled these situations in the past. He benched Santonio Holmes for a game the year we won the Super Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
when we were in a race with the Ravens for the division title, and
Yeah.
like that was your former number one pick,
Yeah.
clear number one receiver on that team.
I miss old school Tomlin.
He
Yeah.
benched Antonio Brown. He benched Mendenhall.
Benched AB in 2018 for that game for missing the walkthrough on Saturday.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was when AB just like went berserk, and I mean he had already been insane, but
Yeah.
that
was when he completely lost his mind.
Yeah, and that was a must-win game to get into the playoffs. I honestly think like that Tomlin feels like he's on the hot seat, and he feels like he needs to get that winning season streak to continue to maintain his job.
Do you really think that?
That's the only okay. Well,
hold on, let me finish.
And that's the only reason I can come up with, right?
Okay.
Because he's like, Pickens is playing because he has talents we need to use to try and win this game.
Right.
I understand that, but so did Antonio Brown in 2018. So did Rashard Mendenhall when he was literally our only running back that year. I mean, who were the other guys like Jonathan Dwyer and Isaac Redman and somebody else? I think. Yeah. So. Yeah, it wasn't like they had a stable full of running backs that year that they were like, oh yeah, they kind of needed Mendenhall and he gave up on him. And Santonio was a big part of that team that went on to win the Super Bowl. He sat him for a game. That it just seems so inconsistent with Tomlin's past decisions that I almost feel like there's some other pressure on him that he feels like I need George Pickens to play to have a shot to win this game.
Okay, but worst case, let's just say Tomlin doesn't.
They're not going to win this game anyways. They're in such bad shape.
He doesn't. I agree with you. They're not. It pains me to say so, but they're not going to the playoffs. But let's just say hypothetically that Tomlin doesn't win out, which that's pretty much what it would take now.
Yeah,
doesn't go to the playoffs and falls out of favor with the Rooneys. And he's suddenly available. In worst case, what happens? He moves to another city and he's making $15 million a year. I mean, worst case, what are we talking about? He doesn't want to fail in Pittsburgh. Is that really? I mean ultimately,
I think
he
going
could
back
go someplace else and he'd have more control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think going back to, the episode we had with the guy who wrote the book on Tomlin,
John Harris.
John Harris. Yeah, thanks. I knew his name was John, but I kept landing on John Brown, and I'm like, I know that's not right. I'm not going to say it. So yeah, John Harris. But I think what John said was, Tomlin's one of those like ultimate competitor guys that he just always wants to win.
Yeah,
and I think that streak means something to him.
Okay, maybe you're right, and maybe I'm undervaluing it. I don't think he gives a shit. And honestly, I am going to be relieved when they go 8 and 9. I think a lot of
people will.
They go 8 and 9, and it's finally fucking over, and we don't have to talk about it anymore. Tomlin never had a losing season. That's done. We don't have to worry about this shit anymore.
And to his credit, it's not him that ever brings it up. It's the fucking national guys who don't have anything else to talk about because they don't follow anything other than the week they come in to call a game.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Steelers. Go ahead, Scarps.
So Steelers Freak brings up a good point. Yeah.
Oh, is Freak here? Oh, there he is.
Steelers. Yeah. Le Freak says chic. Freak out. Yes. So yes, this does happen. And I've heard of similar things happening, as Ramon Foster alluded to today, and I trust Ramon.
Mm-hmm.
So I sit there and say, like, okay, what's more important? Finding a guy, taking money out of his pocket, or not letting him play the game that he loves or supposedly loves, and gaining some perks from the fans because, again, Pickens put you in a bad spot with his comments. So
let me ask you this: Do you think there's a possibility? And then, I don't know why this occurred to me today, but that Tomlin is not benching him specifically because what Pickens said made Tomlin look bad, and he does not want to look vindictive by benching the player. I'd bench him anyway because of what the other 52 guys, but I can't make it work. I can't find a reason.
To me,
it doesn't make any sense other than they need to win.
To me, this is just another example of they're not all on the same page. A couple weeks ago, Jalen Warren saying we took the Cardinals lightly, and then Tomlin's like, "Man, this is the NFL. We don't take anybody lightly." And then literally the next day, Deontay Johnson was like, "Yeah, we took them lightly." So it's like,
and then the week after that, you got guys across the fucking locker room saying, "Yeah, we took them too lightly," and some guys think they can just put on the black and gold and win because they're wearing the black and gold.
And I'm fine if you lie, but like keep the lies straight. Like I'm not gonna like we never I worked there 7 years. We lied all the time, but like at least the lies were consistent, and I take pride in that. No, bullshit. No, I'm on my soapbox right now. I'm gonna say this.
Scarps was the minister of propaganda.
Do you want to know the number of hours I spent waiting to talk to a player and then ultimately talking to them and briefing them about what the head coach said, what the coordinator said, what the owner said, or the GM said, what their teammates said, what the talking head said? And I'm not talking about the band that originated CBGB's in New York. I'm talking about the national pundits. And literally, I would waste hours. Like, I can never get that time back. But I'll tell you what, they fucking went out there and they said what we told them to say. Yeah. So I don't think Pickens is listening, and that's concerning to me.
Well, is he listening? Is anybody fucking talking to him?
Oh yeah,
somebody has to be.
Listen, I mean, I'm gonna say this. Regardless of my time there, yes, they have a PR staff, and yes, they're definitely doing their jobs. I don't think George Pickens is listening, which is very concerning.
Right.
But getting back to the Tomlin point, I think that it would hurt George Pickens more to not play than fine him. And if it was me, I'd fine him and not play him, because this is no. I mean, like, I'm so tired.
I know what you mean.
I'm so tired of people being like, "Oh, he's only 22. He's only 22. He'll learn." This is not some fucking entry level position.
I agree.
At Kinko's or FedEx or whatever. No, I'm not being a dick either. I'm not being a dick.
He had 17 games to learn last year, and he's a second-year pro, and this shit is no longer acceptable. If he were a rookie, I might be willing to look the other way and give him the benefit of the doubt and go, "You're a stupid fucking rookie." But he's not.
This is the highest. This is the highest level of any profession. Think about it that way. And there
profession.
Are no
profession. The operative word there is profession.
And there's no titles here now. There's no SVPs or VPs or this and that. You are an NFL football player. I don't give a shit how old you are. You need to understand where you're at.
Yeah. So there's only, and I said this when the Deontay Johnson thing happened, when it's him staring at the fumble, right? There's 11 guys on a field at any given time. You can get pulled from those spots in any situation, and there's only a certain limited number of reps you're going to get in a game. You've got to be on it when you're out there, or else. Yeah, I agree with what Ryan's saying, though, that you're at the highest level of your profession. You're expected to be a professional, and there's only 11 spots out there. It's not like there's an infinite supply of starting NFL positions.
So all of us know that when you get in the National Football League, and I've heard coaches from Jimmy Johnson to Bill Cowher to everybody talk about this. It's not like high school where it doesn't matter who the player is that commits the team violation. You're all going to face the same penalty. Okay. It's different. That said, I think Melvin brought up a really good point. Chooks and Okorafor got benched for a hell of a lot less. All right. And now you've got this situation with Pickens. Not only is the effort shitty, now the comments are shitty, and he's still so far as we know.
Shoots
he's
got
gonna,
benched because there was a guy behind him who could play his
you
spot.
know that, and most of
Who
us
was
know
good,
that.
and Shooks bitched, so he
Right.
got benched.
Right, but Tomlin made an excuse and said, "Well, he's that's why he's not playing." Bullshit.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Yeah, well, that may have been the straw that broke the camel's back.
right.
He could have just pointed out that, Shooks can't fucking pass block to save his goddamn life.
And that would have been fine.
I looking at the last few weeks, and this is because of Derek, looking the last few weeks at the way these guys pass block, they all have shitty technique. And that's coaching. And that's why Pat Meyer, I'm like, fuck you, dude. You suck. And you not only can you not teach these guys how to pick up a blitz, you got 3 guys blocking one, and they got a gap over here, and a guy runs through it, and nobody tries to block him. One. And second, you teach this go-get thing on pass blocking instead of just waiting back there, having a set, looking in your gap. Is there anyone coming? Fuck.
And we
pass blocking 101.
We liked what Meyer was doing about the last 6-7 weeks last year too.
Yes.
And it's just
they were running the ball more and more consistently. That's the other thing. This team has no identity. They don't know what they want to be.
Right.
There's no consistency at all. And to the point on the offensive line, I think 4 weeks ago in our show before the Bengals game, I said this. So we're playing the Bengals again, so I'm going to say it again, that Dan Moore sucks, and they should seriously think about moving Broderick Jones to left tackle for this game and putting Chooks back in so that Dan Moore doesn't have to block Trey Hendrickson.
Yes.
Because Hendrickson only had 1 sack the last time we played, but kind of had a field day with Dan Moore, kind of like everybody else has had this year. Broderick Jones is better than both tackles at their respective positions.
Mm-hmm.
They need to put him back on the left side, which is his natural position, so that he can actually block the Bengals' best pass rusher.
And the dude that Dan Moore is protecting this week cannot feel a pass rush and walks around like he's wearing cement shoes. We know this. We've seen it. Yeah. So it ain't going to be pretty. It ain't going to be pretty. Hendrickson's had, 3.5 sacks the last 3 weeks?
He's got 5.
I think he's
4.5 the last
TJ, isn't he?
3. Yeah.
Overall.
4.5 the last 3 weeks?
He's got 15
I know
overall.
he's right on TJ's heels.
Yes.
I know that.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it was 4.5 in the last. Hi Jen. In the last 4.5 in the last 3 weeks. Jesus Christ!
I think so, because he had 2, 1.5, and 1. So I'm pretty sure that's 4.5.
Right? And
wow.
When they played us last, it was the first game after they lost Burrow for the year.
Yes.
They were just feeling out, seeing what's going on, and honestly, Jake Browning made one bad throw, and that was
Browning Nagel. What?
Browning Nagel? There's a name.
Yeah.
Isn't that who they're playing? Browning Nagel is the backup.
Jake
in
Browning.
Cincinnati?
Maybe. Whatever.
I thought
Jake Browning.
Browning had one.
Was that wrong, Mark?
Ben just hit
Nagel?
dementia.
It's not Browning Nagel. I thought it was.
No, he played for the Bengals and the Jets, didn't he?
The Bengals? No, he played for the Jets and I think the Eagles and the Falcons.
Yeah.
This is in the 90s, guys.
Louisville.
He was not good.
No.
My point is whatever. Don't even worry about it now. So
I want to go back to the game.
Every once in a while, I just like to throw something in there to take it off the rails.
I'm fine with that. I need a little.
Tomlin's decision to not kick that 55-yard field goal. Somebody explained to me what he was thinking in that.
Shut up, Johnny.
In that particular moment, because there's very little that I can really buy as to why he chose to punt there. Anyone? You're indoors. You've got a guy that's already made 5 of 6.
So it's at the 39 where they would have gotten the ball. No, I'm sorry. They would have gotten the ball at the 46 if he had missed. It's a 56-yarder, which I tend to think Boz could have made from Tomlin's standpoint. My defense, I'm going to bet on my defense and say they can get me back 2 possessions so that I can come back in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And if in the event that Boz loses, the opposite side of this, the event that Boz loses, that that Boz misses, they get the ball on their own on their own 46,
Right.
but that's really good field position.
Yep.
So he's playing the field position game, which we know Tomlin loves to do. So he brings Harvin out there, and he has like a 30-yard punt or something.
Fantastic punt.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how much fucking room did he have, Mark? They were on the 39.
But that's what I'm saying. Is look at how much yards you're actually going to gain.
No,
you're not
we'll
gain
do that later.
much.
Oh, okay, cool.
I agree with you. When you're in that position, the only thing you can do as a punter is kick it up in the air as high as you can and hope that it doesn't end up in the end zone.
Right. Yeah. And
that's it.
I think he got it down to the 18. I think it was like,
I mean,
20 yards.
it was literally like a 21-yard net.
Right.
It was not I can't fault him. I'm sorry. I cannot fault Harvin in that position. He's in a terrible position. It's like, hey, just do your best. Try and get it inside the 20.
Right.
And not in the end zone. I mean, what did we net on that? 2 yards? If he had kicked it in the end zone, they would have gotten out of 20.
Right.
Ian,
yes.
Sorry. Sorry, go ahead. I was going to go.
Ask the question, bud.
No, I'll just go. For a guy that preaches, we don't live in our fears. The dude has lived in his fears for years. It's such bullshit propaganda that I was probably part of, and I accept that. But you kick the fucking field goal there. I don't give a shit. And Ian, you're right. Boz's stats are weirdly worse indoors, and even Matt Gay missed a couple kicks.
Yeah.
But bottom line is, is
it the turf? I mean, is that the issue?
I just would say
when he missed that extra point, I was like, what the fuck? That's weird.
Here's what, and I don't exactly remember what the Colts did after they punted on that, but the point is, it's like your defense isn't gonna do shit. I would have rather he actually went for it. So, like, in order of operations here, a little PEMDAS. In order of operations here, I would have rather he went for it, then field goal, then punted. And he literally skipped the first two and was like, fuck it, let's just kick the ball. And you're right, Ben. Presley Harvin, we'll talk about this later. Presley Harvin has not been good this year, but like, you put him in an unwinnable situation.
Yeah. Right? I mean, what are you supposed to do with that?
Yeah. You've got to essentially throw a dart, and he's not been overly good at that in the first place. So, Ian, what was your take on that strategic decision? Strategery. Thank you.
I thought his excuse of the third down play was bad was total bullshit. Like, I was like, whatever happens on the third down play, other than if you get sacked there and like it knocks you out of what you think is your field goal range, then okay, maybe. But like, we didn't get yards on the third down play. Like, if you're in that situation, like, and you're thinking maybe we're borderline on field goal range, I know it was 3rd and long, but like, maybe you run the ball there and try and get 4 or 5 yards on a draw play to Jaylen Warren and be like, okay, now we have a shorter field goal to attempt. Like, you're down by 2 scores. You have to understand it's situational football, right? We've talked situational football with this team for decades. I feel like on this show, we haven't been doing this show for decades. That's the exaggeration. But like, this team has always, even going back beyond Tomlin's days, been bad at situational football. And it's understanding down, distance, and time. And they just don't get it. I don't understand why they don't get situational football, but they don't. And I could have understood run the ball on 3rd down.
Absolutely.
And kick like a 51-yard field goal rather than whatever, try a deep shot.
His explanation was complete bullshit.
Hang on.
Let's not forget.
What was the dagger? What was the dagger? The dagger was the defense giving up that long fucking drive afterward.
Yes, but here's the thing. Tomlin, quote unquote, trusted his defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trusted his defense that is down, what, 4 inside linebackers and 3 safeties at this point in time?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, we're only down. Yeah.
I mean,
I
we're down 4
understand.
safeties at that point.
Yeah.
And
I could understand trusting the defense.
Inside linebackers.
I could understand trusting the defense if it was the defense at full strength or
the
full
starting
power.
defense. Yeah.
Right. But like, you've already lost KZ and Minka this game.
Yeah.
Like, plus you're playing, inside linebackers that you got off the street. Like, I don't know if you trust your defense in that situation. I'd trust Boswell more than the defense.
That's exactly where I was.
Yeah.
I trust Boz to nail that more than I trust my defense. Just simply based on what was going on.
Like
with
the whole succession of events there. Like,
yeah.
they didn't platoon the defensive line. We had run stoppers in. They were fucking tired. They couldn't stop anyone. It was Indy was just running the ball, and it wasn't like they were using their best running backs. They were using these guys that I was like, "Who's that guy?" I had to look guys up during the game. I was like,
fresh off the practice squad.
Who is this guy carrying the ball for the Colts? Who the fuck? I'm like looking at my phone. Who? What?
Yeah.
And it was just like it was that shit. And I was like, okay, we got Robinson in, we got Roberts. Okay, that's good. We got Cam, we got Ogunjobi. Okay, it's good. Okay, all right. We got a shot. We can stop this. Nope. No shot. None. We kept running the same fucking stunts over and over and over again, trying to make some shit happen. Instead of just playing gap sound football. They didn't do that. That was one of the things I really loved about Dick LeBeau. When you tried to run the ball against him, there'd be somebody in every fucking gap, and running backs had no place to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's why nobody ran against the Steelers. And the shit they were trying to do on Saturday, and I keep coming back to try and say Sunday,
right.
On Saturday was they kept trying to run stunts to get penetration, to make a big play, so they could get a turnover, so they could make something happen. Just play gap sound fucking football and shut the other fucking team down.
Ryan has a point, and then I have a point. So go ahead, Ryan.
All right, Ryan, go.
I just, I look, these Steelers, the Steelers are, 1-4 in their past 5 games, but in the past 4 games, do you know what the average quarterback rating is for the opponent?
No.
Like 110?
I would
104.
5. Okay.
I was
104.
Close.
104. 104. And that
Who are those
includes
quarterbacks,
Jake Browning, who's coming here this weekend.
Browning, Nagel.
And then you got, Kyler Murray, who can't see over the line of scrimmage. Bailey Zapp, or Zappy, depending on how many touchdowns he throws to Hunter Henry. And then Gardner Minshew. And I know we have injuries, but you know what? Every other team has injuries too. So you know what? If you're Mike Tomlin, I don't know how you trust your defense in that situation. That you don't go for it, and then 2, kick the field goal. Sorry,
the point that Ian made before was spot on about the entire fucking middle of the defense being injured or ejected from the game. Ian, I'm sorry. Go on.
So this brings things full circle a little bit to our conversation earlier about coaching. How many times have you heard this year any player give any coach credit? Like, think back to the Super Bowl teams, 2008, 2010, right? Troy Polamalu would make an insane play, and he was like, "Yeah, well, I gotta thank Dick LeBeau for putting me in a good position where I could make a play." Like, those guys,
Coach LeBeau.
Yeah, those guys always were like, the coaches put me in a good position to make a play. Right. These guys, there's a clear disconnect between coaching and players this year. That these players,
we'll talk about that, Melvin.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, these players don't believe in what they're being asked to do. No. And also, like, anytime they get asked about their performance, they're not being like, yeah, the coaches put me in good position. They're like, yeah, I made a good play, which maybe that's true. Maybe they don't believe it, but there's a disconnect, right, between coaching and players. And when you brought up LeBeau, it made me think of that because the players would always be, anyone, whether it was Harrison, whoever.
They loved LeBeau.
That it was.
Well, is it possible?
I don't think that the defense doesn't believe in what they're being asked to do. I don't think that's the issue. I think on offense, that's the issue. I think on defense, you just don't have enough guys anymore.
Yeah.
But I agree with everything you guys have said from the standpoint that I would have kicked that field goal and I would not have said, yeah, I'm going to trust my defense here. Why? They're a fucking wounded lion. Yeah. Really? You think that's going to be – they're more dangerous now? No, they're not.
Is it possible at all, though, that maybe to a little bit lesser degree than what the offense's attitude was towards Canada, maybe there is some doubt on the defensive side when it comes to Terrell Austin? And maybe it's just not being discussed as much because, well, Canada.
I don't
shout out to
that.
Okay, I'm just throwing it out there as a potential.
I somewhat disagree.
Yeah.
Because, and I got to give a shout out to our guy, Coach Bobby, who's in our Slack chat, and he's on Twitter too. But he's been raving about this all year, and he's a high school football defensive coordinator, so had some experience coaching defense.
Right.
And I have never coached defense before in my life, but when he brought it up, I was like, oh shit, he's so right. That when they play zone coverage, the guys are just covering grass. They're not covering players.
Right.
And they're obviously
they're waiting for the ball to come into their zone, and then they're reacting to it.
Yeah.
They're still playing tackle the catch.
Yeah. But you look, and that's why teams have guys so wide open and have a 105 passer rating against us the last few weeks, because anytime we play zone coverage, they're covering grass. They're not covering guys. They're just dropping to a spot and being like, this is my spot. I'll wait and see what happens. Right. And that's not a successful way to play defense in the NFL. And then
even when you do play zone, you wait. When somebody comes into your zone, you cover that fucking guy.
Right.
Yeah. You don't just sit there
until he leaves your zone.
Right. And they're not doing that. And
I
Bobby
agree.
brings this up all the time on our Slack chat, that it's it's so
difficult.
frustrating to watch.
I look at the body language of the players on defense, not on offense. Want to be very clear. Look at the body language of the players on defense after plays, between plays. I don't see guys that are dejected. They're still fired up. They still want to make it happen. Mark, quit drumming. They still want to make it happen. They still are. They're still giving an effort to try and do it. It just isn't happening.
I would agree with that.
I fully agree with what you're saying, Ian, in terms of covering grass instead of covering players. They're still playing tackle the catch, which is an outdated concept. We need to fucking get rid of that shit.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
No, good.
You're good.
Scarps,
go.
You're on.
I remember very early on watching a practice, and I'm so old. This is when they had two-a-days. And I remember listening to the coaching staff talk about getting to your mark, getting to your landmark in zone coverage.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you go, and you got to get there as quick as possible. You get there as quick as possible, and you turn around, and you're responsible for everybody in this area. You're not responsible for the area. You're responsible for everybody in this area.
In the area.
And I think, and I remember being like, oh shit, maybe I could do this. I'm just teasing. I never said that, but but I remember thinking like that is such a okay, I'm going to get to my landmark and everybody in this area is mine. So if I got 3 guys in this area, I'm responsible for 3 guys. Those are basic concepts that this team doesn't do. So when you talk about, grass versus players, they're just talking about grass. They're not they're like, okay, I'm going to get to my landmark and what am I supposed to do? And I really don't think they understand that they're responsible for jerseys and not just turf or grass.
I think that's a good explanation, Scarps.
And again, I don't fucking know everything. I'm not like I've never played the game. I don't want Rashard Mendenhall to get on my ass, but I'm just saying that like that.
Well, you are a white guy.
Well, yes, and but I just remember I remember listening to the guys that were there at the time, and I'm going to be. I mean, we're talking about Dick LeBeau and Ray Horton, the defensive backs coach at the time and the defensive coordinator at the time, talking about that, and I'm like, God damn! I'm like this such a simple concept, but like if you don't understand that you're you're not guarding grass, as Bobby talks about in our chat. I just think that I don't know. I don't know how these current dudes don't understand that, and I don't understand how a defensive guy like Tomlin and Austin can't convey the similar message. You know what I mean? Like it's just if I can understand that, how do professional players not get it? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. I do want to talk a little bit about the KZ thing. And I know we all kind of come from a little bit different angles, pun intended.
It was, you're right.
Yeah, racial draft was one of the, yes, it was. Chappelle Show's racial draft was outstanding. Yes.
That was the first thing I thought of when I saw Mendenhall's tweet.
I was
too. I was like, oh, Chappelle Show did that racial draft episode. That was I
fantastic.
Still laugh about that. That was one of the best.
First overall pick, Tiger Woods.
Right,
yes.
Right. I think we all agree that KZ's hit was a violent hit. And it looked and sounded that way. But I also go to I keep coming back to this question. What is he supposed to do there?
I agree with you. There were three options. Do what he did. Let him catch the ball and try and figure it out later. Or three, aim for his knees, which is what I think guys are going to start doing. They're going to aim at the waist and probably hit guys in the knees, and they're going to be more knee injuries because guys are trying to avoid getting ejections or suspensions for head hits.
Yeah.
Which and knee injuries end careers.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Which is why guys have said for years, I'd rather get a concussion than a knee injury.
Right. But
Ben, I just want to ask you, when Michael Pittman is laying out perpendicular
horizontally, I agree with you.
When he is parallel to the ground,
KZ got as low as he possibly could to try and get under him.
There's no way he can go for his knees when Pittman.
Well, he could have. He could have just slid back
to
this
the
way.
ground.
He could have slid back this way.
Okay.
Against his body. You follow what I'm saying?
But
somebody pointed out something to me this week, and he was right, and I didn't think about it. What he could have done, but he's going full speed. Maybe he didn't have time to think about this, but he could have put his own arms out in front of himself to make sure that his hands were the first thing to make contact with him, and shoved him and tried to get him to drop the ball that way. Because what he was trying to do was dislodge him from the ball.
Right.
Okay. So if you got a guy midair, and all this shit happens in fractions of seconds, and people need to understand that when they're watching.
Which is another thing that irritates me when replay comes in. But
replay comes in, and you're slowing it down slow mo, frame by frame, going, "Oh, well, you had time." No, he didn't.
Right.
But he didn't know if he was on the ground and was going to have an opportunity to catch the ball or not. But he was in the air. And if he had made contact when Pittman was still in the air and flipped Pittman this way, chances are Pittman would have dropped the ball. There's also a possibility, in my mind, that if he had taken that tack and put his hands out in front of him this way, that he would have broken one or both wrists.
Well, exactly. That's what I was going to say when you mentioned
because he's moving so fast. So I guess, we used to wrap our wrists before we played back in the day. And I don't know if these guys do this or not anymore, but that was the reason we did it, was you're gonna hit guys and you don't want your wrist to go too far back and get an injury. So I don't know.
Well, Tom Brady of all people said, what about the fact that the quarterback's throwing a hospital ball here? And I believe me, I don't
And I'm
want
going
to
to
get
do this
into
cheer
it.
for Johnny real quick. Fuck Tom Brady.
There you go.
Oh, wait. No, wait. Brady had a good point, didn't he? Never mind. Sorry.
Well, he did. And I mean, that type of throw from Minshew is exactly what gets a guy killed. I
think Minshew should get fined for that. He had 2 of those throws in that game.
Yeah, he did. You're right. There was another one that was extremely bad.
Fucking
I think the penalty for KZ is a bit much. I know he had been fined
a bit. 80% of KZ's fines had been reduced or rescinded.
Right. And the fact that he is now done for the season, I think, is egregious.
It's horseshit.
Yeah.
They reduced it by going, well, if your team makes the playoffs, you can come back. They're not making the fucking playoffs.
Well,
especially now.
No.
Because you took a team that's already light on safeties and suspended one of them.
Yeah. Ian, I would like your opinion on how much of okay, no, I wouldn't.
Love you too, Mark.
I like that freak. I like that freak. That's a great
art
comment.
too. How much of this is on him? And when I say this, there's a lot of teams that would love to be 7-7, but
Matt Canada is.
This is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this has been ugly how we got here. I mean, and we'll of course hear from AR2 a couple weeks once after the season ends. But how much of this is on him?
I mean, I think everything we're talking about with coaching, especially on the offensive side of the ball, is on him because, as we've talked about on the show, right? Yeah. Art was on the committee that issued the report that said, the league has blown so much money on fired coordinators. And ultimately, it's Art's decision as the team owner, as the guy who cuts the paychecks, right, whether or not to retain coaches and coordinators or, show them the door. And, I mean, you could tell last year, heck, you could tell when Roethlisberger was in his final year that he didn't believe in what Canada was asking him to do.
Nah.
You could tell last year that the offense didn't believe in what Canada was asking them to do. And like getting the Steelers to change is like trying to steer the Titanic, right? It's like you see where this boat is going and all right, maybe I've been hanging out with Ryan too much, but I'm going to say this anyways. All the fanboys on Twitter are like, look at this big ass boat. Who's stopping this boat? Nobody's stopping this boat. And then all of a sudden
13-4, baby. Let's go.
You've got people who are like, hey, this boat's headed for iceberg infested waters.
For fuck's sake. There are people right now who still believe that if Kenny Pickett was healthy,
the Steelers
would
that.
be 10-4.
Right.
I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Him and his one fucking touchdown a game would have gotten us to 13 to 10-4. Are you serious? You really believe that?
Let me finish my analogy here.
I'm sorry. You're right.
And then, okay, maybe you fire Matt Canada, which is like when they scream iceberg ahead. And then they try and start to steer the boat a little bit away from the iceberg. But they're so fucking slow at it that it still hits the iceberg and they're still going to sink. Like this thing was doomed from the start. Right? Like the Titanic, this was doomed from the start, regardless of look at how big this fucking boat is. And, this is the greatest thing ever made. And, all those tweets from after the off season of who's stopping this offense. And,
right.
The people who are, retweeting that stuff like, oh, Matt Canada is still the coordinator. Right. But clearly there's a disconnect between players and coaches. And it's definitely somewhat Art's fault because he didn't move on because he wasn't willing to eat whatever it was, $750,000.
$700,000 a year. But let's time out. Let's talk about why it's really Art's fault in the first place. Art wanted Matt Canada added to the staff, to add a dynamic to the staff, because he'd seen this guy be the offensive coordinator at Pitt and at LSU, and he wanted him added. So he's the guy. Art is the guy who got Canada added as quarterbacks coach.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you sure it was Art and not the guy whose son got a scholarship offer from Matt Canada?
Yes. Yes, I am.
I'm pretty confident that it was Art too, based on
that's what I was told. Point blank. Art wanted him added. So that being the case, you got this guy who comes in, doesn't do shit. Then he gets promoted to offensive coordinator. They give him a contract, 3-year, $2.1 million contract as an OC. Not a great rate as an OC, but that's, it's a lot of money. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But Art absolutely fucking deserves. Art should stay the fuck out of football decisions. I'm sorry. I know you're a Rooney. Maybe you feel entitled to opine. You ain't Dan. You're not.
Nope.
Sorry.
Nope. He's not.
I have something to say about that, and I'm sorry.
We were told for a long time that he was not a football guy.
I'm going full of Scarps right now.
Well, yeah. Scarps, you look as though you may have something to say.
He's got a mustache.
I do, but I didn't have anything to say. I was waiting for a question.
A mustache.
All right. Well, very good. Yeah, I just wanted your thoughts on the responsibility here of Art Rooney too.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, I'm really not involved in much, but no. I would say that we've always been told that Tomlin, Colbert, and Rooney are the three-headed monster, and they all come together to make the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Colbert's no longer there, and I know we're talking about Canada, and this is years past, but the point is, with Colbert gone, how much influence does Omar have? And forgive me for saying I don't think he has much, but I do think Art has more of an influence than people think. And I don't necessarily think that is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
He is not his grandfather. He is not his dad. He is not football oriented as they were. If he said that Matt Canada is the guy to be the coordinator, that is horrible. Like, that is just such a terrible decision. And
I don't know that was the case. I haven't been able to get anybody to tell me that was the situation, but I don't know either.
I'm just saying
what I have been told, and this may be opinion, but it seems to be common knowledge around the building that Art wanted Canada added as the quarterback's coach to help Randy Finkner, who nobody was super impressed with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when they elevated Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, they did not name a quarterback's coach, right?
They didn't. Randy was the quarterback's coach in OC,
right?
And Randy was basically kind of Ben's golf caddy,
Tomlin's buddy,
for lack of a better. No, he was Ben's buddy, dude.
Right.
He let Ben do whatever the fuck he wanted.
It was like Arians Jr.
Do we not know the Tomlin connection with Randy?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, they were Arkansas State, right?
Yeah, but that's not.
How is that not part of it? How is that not part of this?
I think it's
part of it. It makes it an easy transition. But the point was, at the time, they wanted a guy who got along better with Ben because Todd Haley didn't, even though Todd Haley was a far superior offensive coordinator to Randy.
That's not even true.
Oh boy!
Whoa!
Todd was too.
But
he was way better
in the 20s, I think.
No. Hold on. Todd absolutely was a better offensive coordinator. I'm calling bullshit on that him and Ben didn't get along. That's bullshit. I was there for that. That's bullshit. They did get along.
They did get along?
Yes, they got along.
Ben seemed pretty fucking happy when he was gone.
They were hanging out at Tequila Cowboy together.
No. So
Hang on, a tequila cowboy. No.
So Ben seemed pretty happy because he didn't have the adult in the room telling him what to fucking do.
That's what I'm
So that's
saying.
fine. Okay, that doesn't mean they didn't get along because look at the Steelers' offenses when they were together. Even in 2012, without a running back, and in 2013, they were still more productive than this shit show that we're looking at.
I fully agree with that statement.
Them together produce the best Steelers offenses in team history.
100% agree with you.
And they did not. So like, my point is that people think that they were fucking punching each other every day or fighting with each other every day, and I never heard either one.
No, nothing like
raise
that.
their fucking voice to one another ever. So like, Todd Haley was a victim. Todd Haley was the scapegoat of their defense losing Ryan Shazier in 2017 and shitting the bed in the playoffs. And nobody will ever admit that. But that's exactly what happened.
I've said multiple times.
Yes, Matt. I'm drunk and I did work there. I'm sorry that you can't comprehend that or understand that.
Okay, time out.
Time out, jerk.
Be nice.
Yes.
Be nice.
No,
Hey, Johnny, fuck off.
I've said multiple times on Twitter.
I can tell Ryan to be nice.
And it's
why can't Matt Smith be okay? Matt Smith laugh. Matt Smith's laughing at me again.
After
Shazier,
after Shazier's injury, the Steelers gave up a touchdown more per game. They gave up 6 points more per game than they did beforehand. So Ryan's right that the defense got definitively worse.
It hurt bad.
And And
they still haven't replaced that guy. Still.
No. They haven't. And it's I mean, they tried. They tried with some free agents. They tried with Devin Bush, and nothing has stuck.
Yeah,
I will say this.
Great.
Our defense has been kind of like Swiss cheese the last few weeks, but
kinda.
Yeah. But that being said, they knew the middle of the defense was an issue. They knew the middle of the defense was an issue this offseason. They attempted to address it, but in the National Football League, you can only sustain so many injuries at a position before you're just like, we're fucked, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And that's where we're at right now at inside linebacker.
Yes, exactly. That was my point, right? They tried to address inside linebacker. Whether or not it was successful is debatable.
They did. They had 3 starters for 2 spots.
And then everything
was great. I was like, fucking hey, this is going to be a strength. All right, now all we need is a strong safety, and it'll be okay. And now we have no safeties or inside linebackers.
Right. So, I mean, I think 2 is probably the number of like injuries you can sustain and maybe still be viable. But once you hit 3 or 4 injuries at a given position,
or
like
5 or whatever, and a suspension or whatever, you're fucked.
Yeah. So basically, the whole middle of our defense is screwed.
Yeah.
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 So
and we need to platoon the fucking defensive line too. Why did Cam play so many snaps last week?
I don't know.
Because he's not playing here next year.
I'm like, why? It's not like he was effective. Why the fuck was he playing so? You got Benton, you got Adams behind him. Those are a couple of, especially Benton. Why wasn't he playing more snaps?
This is Cam's swan song.
But you also had Loudermilk, a healthy scratch. You have Leal, who's literally fallen off the cliff. I mean, I don't think they had a choice but to play.
I do. You had Benton and you had Adams.
Yeah, but you're not going to kick Benton out, are you?
No, you throw Benton in for Cam.
Right, but
where my point?
Are you talking about in? You're not talking about regular 3-4.
You got 4 guys. Okay.
Yeah.
You got Cam and Lario.
Right.
You got Benton and you got Adams. Right.
Okay.
And this is kind of where I'm going with it. And you can platoon those guys so that they all play. I mean, perfect world. They all play 50% of the snaps. Right.
Yeah.
And they've reduced the number of snaps that Larry O is playing, and as a result, he's been more effective the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he was better Saturday. Yep.
I don't know if you guys noticed that. He's been a lot more effective now that he's playing fewer snaps. Cam needs to be on that same fucking pitch count. I am sorry. It is time. It is time.
I agree, Ben. But
I agree.
they're not going to let that happen.
I'm really starting to think he's done. I think he's going to retire.
I don't think he's going to retire. I think that they're gonna make some kind of a deal with him next year, like
possible.
they did with Ben, like they did with Jerome Bettis, like they did with a bunch of other guys, where he's going to come back and he's going to play for less money. Fine, I'm fine with it, but put him on a fucking pitch count. Make him a starter.
Yeah,
who plays half the snaps. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Just saying.
I do want to actually talk a little bit about the game coming up, and I think we've all pretty much agreed that the only way the Steelers are going to win on Saturday is to run the ball extremely well
and consistently. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No,
I mean about it. They're so inconsistent, like that. It's like, oh, Warren has a good run, and then let's bring Najee into the game, or there's one good run, then we're going to throw the ball 3 times. Sorry, I'm sorry.
I agree with what you're saying, Ian. I just
what's funny to me about this is that Scarps and I are getting a little buzzed, and you're still kind of sober.
Somebody's got to be the adult in the room.
There was a qualifying word in front of that, an adjective describing the kinda sober.
Yeah, see, Noah, I'm trying to be the adult in the room.
You always try, and you usually fail.
No, still, Dad, you are the. Listen, I know it's early, and I might be a little buzzed, but I'm grateful for you. I just wanted to say that for keeping us all in line. So thank you, still, Dad.
It's what I do.
I mean, I'm a little kiss ass, and you are a teacher, so
it's totally fine. Where the fuck are my apples?
You're not getting one.
Anyway, I mean, Jake Browning looks really good the last couple weeks. I think even without Jamar Chase, they're going to be able to throw the ball, especially when we've got two guys from
what's his name? That
the Docks that are going to be.
The T.
Higgins
guy.
They got Boyd still.
Good. They got Tyler Boyd. We have a shitty slot corner.
I mean, literally, we have to turn into that high school offense that runs the ball 3.5 yards per play, never throws it. I mean, that's literally what it's going to have to be.
What Jen is drinking is disgusting.
Jack Daniel's apple straight. I don't think it's terrible.
That's horrible.
Steelers freak is smoking weed called frontal lobotomy.
Steelers freak. You and
That's
Johnny,
funny.
and I'm not trying to be funny here. You and Johnny need to talk about what kind of weed you guys smoke.
Yes, Melvin. 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Yes. Describe
what the Steelers need to do if they want to have a shot at winning this game is play keep away. They need to dominate time of possession, and they need to stop the run.
They have to.
They got to stop the run.
Yeah.
Also, Johnny, fuck you.
Is that the first one tonight?
No, I don't know. Maybe.
That's at least the second. Yeah. Yes, Johnny. The idea was an airing of the grievances.
Go ahead, Ian. Air your grievances.
Show.
We air grievances every goddamn show.
I know we do, and that's why it's. But
I honestly don't see a way that we win this game if we get less than 3 turnovers. I feel like we need multiple turnovers in this game.
I was going to say 2, but if we get 2, if we get 2 and they get none.
Yeah, okay.
Is this predictions or no?
No,
yeah, we're at predictions.
We're just talking.
Oh, are we at predictions?
Yeah, but we're there.
Honestly, we need multiple turnovers in this game to be able to win. I don't see a way that we win without multiple turnovers.
No, I agree. We got to go back to that formula that we had earlier in the year. Get some big turnovers, short fields, or even the defense scoring. I mean, I don't see any other way around it. And Cincinnati is not that great defensively. I think they're 28th.
They're not.
They're much better than they were, though.
Yeah,
They've improved every week.
Yes.
They've played better the last couple or 3 weeks, but they haven't played great teams. Let's be frank.
They beat the Jaguars, who beat us at home.
The Jaguars.
The Jaguars.
Ryan is buzzed.
But I'm saying, like, what do you mean
Love
they
it.
didn't beat great teams? The Jaguars are fucking first in their division. Like,
The
what are we talking
Jaguars?
about? Fuck you all. I'm tired of this. Let's go. I'm writing these down. Let's go.
Well, Scarp, since you're writing these down, go with your prediction for the weekend. I've got a very sneaky suspicion these predictions are going to be very different from the last several weeks.
Shut up, Mark.
Not with me.
Shut up.
What
do you got? Ryan?
We didn't even talk about my favorite person in the world, Mason Rudolph. But
He is what he is.
I want to
go
go on record since we're talking about this real quickly. Before you make your prediction.
Okay.
I really hope that Mason Rudolph proves all of us wrong, except for Scarps, who loves him, and throws for 404 TDs. Really. I really hope he does. I hope he comes out and lights it on fire and turns his fucking career around.
Absolutely.
Do I think he will do it? No.
No.
Am I rooting for him? Fuck yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's wearing the black and gold. He will be.
No, it isn't just about him rooting for the black and gold. The dude has done everything right.
Yep.
He's worked hard. He's said the right things. He's been a good teammate. We all should be rooting for him. We should all wish good things on him.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'll stop there.
So I hope Mason throws for 315 yards and 3 touchdowns, and George Pickens has 0 catches. And then and then even after but even after that, the Cincinnati Bengals win this game 31-27.
God damn it. It ain't gonna be that close.
All right. Ben, what's your prediction?
My prediction is the Bengals come in and embarrass us at home 27-13.
Oh God.
Okay. 27-13. All right. Ian?
Oh man, that was going to be kind of close to what I was thinking because I think if the Steelers want to win this game, like I said, they either have to get multiple turnovers or are going to have to score 30 points. And the only times this year that they scored more than 23 points, one of them they had 2 defensive touchdowns against Cleveland and only got to 26. And the other one was a 24-point outing against the Rams where TJ Watt returned an interception inside the 10-yard line. So basically this offense sucks and can't put points on the board. And our defense, as we've said, has no middle of the field coverage at all, which doesn't bode well against Mixon or the other running backs that are now working in.
Chase Brown.
Yep.
Yeah. Or tight ends or that little Irwin guy, wide receiver, who Browning seems to have a pretty good connection with.
Yep.
He's also in a Cinderella cover band. Trenton Irwin. He's a guitar player in a Cinderella cover band. I'm sorry, Ian. Go ahead.
Gypsy Road, baby.
All right. So yeah, it's not looking good. It's looking bad. And on top of that all, since the name has changed to Acrisure Stadium, the Steelers
here we go
are bad at they have either I think 500 record or losing record at home. It's right around 500 at home.
Yeah.
So it's not good. And I mean, I was at the Cardinals game. You could hear it during the Patriots game on the broadcast that the team was getting booed incessantly. And I think that does something to a player's psyche when your home fans are booing you off the field after every drive. It's not going to be good. It's not. So I'm going to go Oh, fuck. Ben said 28-13. All right.
I
I'll
said
go
27-13.
You said 27.
27-13. All right. I'll pick a weirder score then. I'll go Bengals 29, Steelers 29. Yeah, Bengals 29, Steelers
29.
Yeah, I'm trying to pick something different than you.
That's a weird score.
Yeah, it
29
is.
points. All
Yeah.
right.
Scoregami.
Yeah. Bengals 29, Steelers 17.
Well, it's
There we go.
interesting. I think Matt alluded to this in the chat, but Tomlin has a really, really good record in home finales.
Oh.
And the team in general has a really good record in home finales. It's like 42-13 or something like that. It's really good. A lot of things point in their direction, but it's not going to matter. I think Rudy will connect on a few scores, but I don't think we're going to be able to stop them. I'm going to go Bengals 33, Steelers 17. That's my prediction, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah,
even worse.
Yep. I can't keep picking these close games anymore.
That's an ass whipping.
Yep.
So,
I just think that's it. Scarps, do you have a comment before we get to Casey?
This is the third time that we've all picked the opponent to win. Okay.
All right.
What happened the other times?
We are
beat
1-1.
We are
1-1.
Yeah.
We beat the Ravens, but lost to the Jaguars.
About to be 2-1.
Beat the Ravens, but lost to the Jaguars. Beat the Ravens, but lost to the Jaguars, all at home. So this is the rubber match. Call God.
I love it when you and Ian get drunk and you say things like Bengals and Jaguars. Fantastic. The Pittsburgh East comes out.
Rudolph Hess does Noah.
Nobody has said Bengals yet,
Noah
which really kind of surprises me.
No one said what?
Nobody said Bengals. Johnny spelled Rudolph in Nazi earlier.
I saw that. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn it over to the late great Mr.
Casey Kasem.
Casey's Coast to Coast, American Top 40. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the week that was December 21st, 1983. Our favorite correspondent, Ryan, is back again with us this week, and he writes, Dear Casey, on the day I was born, the nurses all gathered round, and they gazed in wide wonder at the joy they'd found. The head nurse spoke up, said, leave this one alone. She could tell right away that I was bad to the bone. Casey, that's, of course, George Thorogood, not to be confused with George Pickens, although both are bad. For George Pickens, it's bad attitude, bad effort, bad body language, and bad business decisions. Or good business decisions, according to him. Speaking of him, I was told that he was him. He's got that dog in him. It's more like he dogged Jaylen Warren on that near touchdown run. Perhaps we should call him Slim Pickens.
Oh,
wow.
Casey, I'm not sure if you've been following the news this week. And no, I'm not talking about Rashard Mendenhall forgetting to take his CTE pills. Nor am I talking about TJ Watt saying his teammates are soft as hell and they don't want to practice, nor do they know how to practice the right way. I'm not even talking about George Pickens blaming the media for his behavior and attitude and saying that he never met with the head coach and then telling his PR staff that he didn't understand the questions. I'm talking about Mr. Non-Losing Seasons himself, Mike Tomlin, refusing to discipline his second-year wide receiver. Seriously, Casey, have the Steelers ever had a wide receiver that's this big of a pain in the ass in their second year? I mean, at least Antonio Brown waited 4 or 5 years to go batshit crazy. Casey, I was told today by the smartest people in the world, a.k.a. the people in my Twitter replies, And they asked me, how do I know that George Pickens wasn't disciplined? Yeah, you're right. I'm sure he had to do the laundry, clean the toilets, and write on the dry erase board in the team meeting room, I will not be an asshole next game, 1,000 times in front of all of his teammates. Casey, this was Tomlin's chance to show that this was his team and that this behavior was not okay. Instead, he once again enabled his players. Casey, with all that's unfolded this year and since 2017, it's clear this is all crumbling down.
Oh, boy.
Well, Ryan, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Happy holidays to you and all your listeners. Falling 10 spots this week, just like the Steelers, to number 24. Here's John Cougar Mellencamp off his album, Here's Crumbling Down. Damn.
Wow. Started with Thurgood and ended with Mellencamp.
Wow.
Wow.
Well done.
Yeah.
That was brutal. That was hurtful but funny.
Well, hurtful, brutal, funny, the Pittsburgh Steelers of 2023.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Funny.
Hey, thanks so
Somehow
much,
I haven't
everybody.
laughed during Steelers games. I've come close to crying, but I haven't laughed
well.
yet once.
Well, we still got 3 weeks left, so
Yeah, great.
get the tissues ready.
And I'm not here next week, so
Right, Ian
Yeah.
is.
Fuck, Ian, you're gonna skip the fucking podcast?
podcast, game, everything. I'm
Are
gone.
you-
Yes.
Are you going to
Ian is-
apologize to the listeners and explain yourself?
Yeah. My son, my 12-year-old son, his middle school choir got invited to go to Rome for this
That's second
conference
year in
of
a row, right?
choirs. No, it's this. No, it's just this year.
Just this year.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
they went
Okay.
last year.
No. This is
So-
the.
Sorry,
So at any rate,
Going to
I'm going,
Rome to do what?
he's going to sing for the Pope. They're going to sing at the New Year's Day Mass for the Pope.
Not a
Hey,
big
the
deal.
Pope.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So
That's awesome. So what
So-
you're saying, I mean,
Yes.
basically what I'm understanding here is the Vatican doesn't have Wi-Fi.
Also, Italy's
Jeez.
like 6 hours ahead of Eastern
Right.
time, so
Right.
So?
I've got. Yeah, no, I don't know. We're
It's a
gonna be
big
like,
deal. It'll be 4 a.m. You can jump on. It's not a
yeah,
big deal.
no, that's not happening. So I will be
Don't be
in
such a
Italy
bitch.
next week. So
Don't be such a bitch. You could totally get on the show
Hold on,
and do
hold
the
on.
show with us.
hold on a minute. You skipped the show to go like on
I've
a
skipped the
river
show
to
for so
watch
many
Philip
reasons.
Matthews or
Yeah,
Let's
something.
not
let's
talk
not-
about
let's
my
not get
bad
into
reasons.
Skip shows
Let's
here.
not talk about my bad reasons to skip the show. Let's
Yeah.
talk about your bad reasons now.
Hey guys, Dave
right.
is playing at Red Rocks. I gotta fucking see the same show I've seen for the last 37 fucking
I've
years.
only seen him 24 times.
Every song definitely doesn't sound the same.
They
Okay.
don't.
All right.
They don't.
Love you guys in the chat. Have a Merry Christmas. Happy
Yeah,
New
thank
Year.
you
That's
all.
right.
I will
That's
be
right.
back.
Thank you all
for the
for
Merry
show.
showing up.
Christmas to everybody.
Thank you all for
Uh,
showing up and interacting and being here. Even you, Johnny, even though you're a fucking asshole. Thank you all for being here.
Yes.
really appreciate
you. Yeah, all that they just said. And do
Oh,
your best
shit.
to enjoy the game this weekend. Have a great Christmas, everybody. And we'll see you next week, pre-New Year's. And
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate.
Stay safe.
I wish
enjoy
you
it.
a wonderful one.
And as they say, well, as I say, go Steelers.
Ravens suck. I don't care if they are in first place.